Hey everybody, I am back. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Tamara and I run the beauty and travel blog Loverofshades.com. So today I'm going to talk about a different subject. We're not going to focus on beauty today. I'm going to actually talk about my TEFL training and answer some commonly asked questions and give you some answers, some feedback, as well as tell you about my TEFL experience and about Prague, Czech Republic, which is the city that I did my TEFL experience at. So you may see me look down from time to time. I typed all the questions on my phone, so I just am using that to stay on track, so don't mind me. So the first thing, where to do TEFL. For those of you who don't know what TEFL is, that's just teaching English as a foreign language. It is highly recommended that you get certified in order to obtain work in this field. So let's get started. Where to do TEFL. In my suggestion, you do TEFL where you plan on staying. So for example, I wanted to travel the world, and this is what I use as my main source of income to travel the world. So I had to get my certification, and I wanted to start off in Europe, so I went to Europe. I went to Prague, Czech Republic. Now they have TEFL courses all throughout the world. The most popular and the most recommended is to do it physically in person, to do an in-person TEFL course. In-person TEFL courses take about 3 to 4 weeks, between 120 to 150 hours. The most average I want to say is 130, and you could do it anywhere in the world. My recommendation, do it in an area or city or country where you want to live. Just because, in my opinion, that makes it very easy to transition into just from being a student to just living there permanently. You could also do TEFL courses online. I personally don't recommend it. The only reason why is because a lot of schools will kind of expect you to do the in-person training. So you don't want to get far in an interview process and they're like, where's your certification? Where did you do your TEFL? And you say you did it online. And then they're like, no, we are looking for people that actually did it in person. The advantage of doing it online is because you can move more so at your own pace. But one of the main disadvantages about doing a TEFL course online, which is what a lot of schools will ding you on, is because you don't have that actual in-person practice with students for that will count as teaching experience. So they'll ask you to do a demo lesson, and that's something that as an online student you'll kind of have to go find students on your own to do it, where most TEFL programs that are in-house will actually provide you students to practice. So that's where you do your TEFL. Accreditation is extremely important. The reason why is because, just like, a college, they want to make sure that the school that you went to is actually accredited. The same goes for TEFL courses. So when you're applying for jobs after you finish your TEFL program, one of the main things that they're going to ask you is, well, one of the few questions they'll ask you is, did you complete a TEFL course? Do you have certification? Where did you do your TEFL course? And ultimately, which is one of the most important, is the program accredited? If you say no, I'm not saying that you can't find a job anywhere, but it will be extremely hard because these jobs are looking for students that graduated from accredited programs. So just save yourself the heartache and the money and just go ahead and find an accredited course. The next thing is, do you need a degree, or can you scoot on by without one? I know people that do teach, they are TEFL certified, they do teach without a degree. However, to be very honest with you, I highly recommend that you have a degree. Why? Because most of these jobs are requiring you to have a degree. You having a degree could also be the deciding factor on if you get an actual contract or not. Also, that will come into play when it's time to get a visa so you could legally work in that country. So the biggest recommendation is for you to have a degree. It doesn't matter what field you got your degree in. You can get it in business, you can get it in English, you could get it in languages, you could get it in social studies, whatever, social work, whatever. They just want you to have a bachelor's degree, because what the school wants to do is tell the parents or tell the students that are paying for these courses that we have educated teachers, educated qualified teachers that are teaching you English, okay? So you can still do it without a degree, but The people that I do know that don't have a degree that are teaching, they have always mentioned that it is much harder to obtain work. You could get by maybe in rural cities, but if they don't have that large like teaching pool to choose from, but for the most part they're going to require you to have a degree. So just to let you know, you could still try. Even the TEFL programs could let you know, will let you know if you don't have a degree, but you might have some hardships while trying to obtain work. The next thing, having actual practice. So again, this is one of the main advantages for in-house TEFL certification programs, because since you're doing 120 hours, 130 hours, 150 hours respectively, a certain amount of those hours have to be, in-house practice, which means you are actually teaching real students, English, like a topic in English. And it goes to, like, they have a set curriculum for most TEFL programs. So you'll be teaching like grammar, you'll be teaching, a whole bunch of breakdowns as far as the language goes. But they'll have a breakdown. They want to make sure that you know how to lesson plan. They want to make sure that you are comfortable teaching. They want to make sure that you are aware of time. They want to make sure your voice projects, correctly. They want to make sure that you could think on your feet, because, students will ask you questions and you're not always expecting it. So make sure any program you choose that you ask that program, are we actually going to be teaching ourselves as students? And if they say yes, then that's a good thing. If they say no, you need to go find another program, because the main thing is when you apply for a job, they're going to ask you to do a demo lesson, a demonstration lesson, which is basically put your money where your mouth is. You say that you know how to teach, you got your TEFL certification, you have a degree, come in, teach these students for 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 50 minutes, an hour. We want to see that you actually know how to teach before we hire you or before we extend a contract to you. So it's very important that your program allows you to teach and you actually have practice teaching. The next thing is who is teaching you. So when you choose a TEFL program, you want to make sure that the teachers or the faculty or the staff are actual teachers. Why? Because you have more relatability. They could actually give you real life experiences and teach that to you. They could actually critique you correctly on what you're doing correct or what you're doing incorrectly during your teaching practice. So it's just very important that you actually have real life teachers teaching you, and especially if they have experience teaching internationally, because they could also help bring up I want to say culture, conflicts or culture immersion, stuff like that. But you need somebody that is actually experienced in teaching to teach you. If it's just a whole bunch of random people saying, yeah, we'll teach you English or teach you how to teach English, that's not the program for you. So make sure that the faculty that is actually responsible for teaching you are actual teachers in real life. Okay, the next thing is certification. Certification is very important because you need proof that you completed a training, and that's where accreditation again comes in, because you'll have to present that to your job or to the job that you're applying for. And if you cannot prove with this certificate that you have completed 120, 130, 150 hours, that you actually have taught in classrooms, that you understand lesson planning, you understand methodology, you understand, everything else that involves a TEFL course, you will not get extended a job. Also, they need to make sure as well, ultimately, that program is accredited. So make sure you ask the school or the program you're interested in, what type of certification do you give me? Because a lot of them will give you two. They're supposed to give you two. One will be like, thank you for completing, you have successfully completed this course. But another one is that official one, kind of like a diploma or like a college degree, where it shows you like this person completed this program that's accredited in this council and they could teach English. Okay. The next thing is cost. That's one of the main questions that I get asked. So online courses I've seen start about $99. to be quite frank with you, do not take that course. I have taken that course at first. I was just like, oh, let me just do it online. Let me see if it's something that I'm interested in. I completed it very quickly, but most schools, I haven't found one school that was willing to accept that. That's why I went to an actual school in Prague. So you could do the online courses, but the in-person course, on average, I want to say it's between, I've seen courses start around $1,000 for 3 to 4 weeks training to $2,500. It all depends on where you're going. And then of course, depending on the level of cost, they need to be providing a certain amount of resources, have a certain amount of prestige behind the name, and actually put the money where their mouth is to justify that cost. But on average is between $1,000 to $2,500. It all depends on where you're located, where you're training, and what type of training you're getting, okay? The next one is job assistance. This is very important when it comes to shopping for TEFL programs, because you're shelling out at least $1,000. You need to make sure that that program that you're making this investment in has job assistance, because at the end of the day, especially if you're teaching in another country that you never lived in your life, you need somebody that has that assistance. Even if you don't take them up on the assistance, do people know you? Do they have schools that come in and recruit from within? Do they recruit from within? Are they actually hiring? These are things that you need to know, because you may need help. More than likely, you will need help finding work once you graduate from a TEFL program. So you really need that school to back you up and say, yes, he or she or this person knows their stuff. They know how to teach. We taught them. We educated them. They know. Go ahead and hire them, and they need to have at least that reputation to where it's respected, and if not the city alone, as well as the country. So make sure that the school offers some sort of job assistance, because if not, then it's kind of like you're kind of taking a big risk on investing in that program. The next thing is alumni services. So I'm actually going to put two topics together: alumni services and housing assistance. So it's sort of very similar to job assistant or job, placement assistance. You need to also make sure that your program that you're interested in has very strong alumni networks, as well as and just see if they have housing assistance. Now, when it comes to alumni network, again, you may need help. You may be going on in your career. You may have moved out the country. But if you run into a tough patch, if you run into hardship, are you able to call and speak to other alumni, maybe get some assistance that way? Again, could the school help you? Could they put you in contact? How many contacts do they have? How much resources do they have? How strong is their alumni network? That's very important, just because you just never know when you need that help. When it comes to housing, not all TEFL programs have housing. The one that I did not. However, if they do, that's excellent, because that's a burden off of your shoulders. But if not, don't get discouraged if your program does not have housing assistance. They might not have a housing program, but they might still be able to help you obtain housing elsewhere, like my program did. They didn't offer housing, but they helped me find housing somewhere else. Okay? The next one is TEFL Services. So very similar to kind of like consultants, how consultants work. There's TEFL assistant programs as well. I actually used one, and when I got into my TEFL program in Prague, the company I use is called TEFL Heaven. So they kind of, from what I gathered and what I understand, they kind of work with certain schools in different countries. And what they pretty much do is they kind of take out the dirty work. So if you don't feel like researching, or if you don't feel confident enough in your research, or you're just scared, like, I don't want to make this big investment, and then this program ends up not being the program for me, or even the school might have reservations, that's where a TEFL assistant program like TEFL Heaven will come into play, because they kind of do that dirty work for both parties. They'll make sure they find out what you're looking for, what your concerns are, what your wants and needs are. They already understand what the school is looking for, what type of students they're recruiting, and they kind of put those matches together and take out that dirty work for both parties, because it's very important that whatever program you're making that investment in, that you're actually happy. Because who wants to spend $1,500, $1,200, $2,000 and then you get there and you don't like it? You can't get your money back. So that's always an option. You could of course always do the research on your own. I've known other students and other colleagues that have done that, but you could also use a third-party program or a third-party company if you just are not sure, or you just need someone to kind of just do that work for you. Okay, the last two things I wanted to talk about, so I'm going to separate them, is resources. Resources are very important in the teaching community, not just to use in the city or country that you're teaching in, but just abroad, period. So there's 3 main websites that I use. There's of course also in-house resources as well, but I'm going to talk about external. So I use Teachaway. I like Teachaway a lot just because I could kind of get an idea about a TEFL program, or even about a company when I'm unsure, if I'm just looking, or they're like perspective for me. So I like Teachaway. Another really popular one is Dave's ESL Cafe. I use Dave's ESL Cafe for 2 main reasons, but they got a wide variety of resources. The main 2 reasons I use Dave's ESL Cafe is to look for jobs, and also to use their forums. Their forums are really good because there is an active community. So if I have questions about a job, or if I have questions about a program, if I have questions about anything in teaching, I could already see if there's a forum on it, or if not, I could simply ask the question. And there's so many different teachers that have so many different experience and other resources and hints and travel tips and just tips overall, that I could more than likely get my answer question there. The last one is my most popular and my most favorite, and that is Go Overseas. I really like them because they really break down everything, especially about TEFL courses. They will break everything down that you need to know. Also when it comes to schools, international schools, language schools, even some public schools, depending on how often they recruit, they will have that breakdown for you, and they just have a wide variety of resources. So I really like Go Overseas. And don't worry, anything that I mentioned, like the TEFL Heaven, these 3 websites, I'm going to put all that in the description box below, so no worries. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about as far as questions go is just making sure the program is legit. So there's 3 things that I look for when it comes to a program. Number 1, make sure that program interviews you. Why? Because if they don't offer to interview you, again, why are you paying all this money and making this big investment on something that you don't even know if you're gonna like? That program needs to make sure that you're as good as a fit as you are concerned, as making sure that your money and your investment is going to be worth your while. So if they don't even want to meet you before they just accept you into the program, in my personal opinion, that's a huge red flag, because you don't want a program that's just looking to take money. You want a program that actually is going to be, that actually cares about you and is going to be dedicated to making sure that you succeed in your teaching career. So if they don't at the very least interview you, to me that is a huge red flag. So make sure whatever program you're interested in, make sure they make sure they interview you. Okay, the next thing is resources. We've already talked about this. Just again, please make sure that whatever school or whatever program you're interested in, just find out how, what their resources is like. What's their alumni network? Do they have job assistance? Do they have housing assistance? What do they do for students that have graduated? Things of that nature. The last thing is immersion. Immersion is really important because, especially if you've never lived in that country before or that city before, you need to get used to the culture. You need to get used to how things are in that particular setting. So a school that actually cares about you, they will also be interested and make sure to the best of their ability that they try to immerse you into the culture, into that new city, into that new country, to make you as comfortable as possible, because you don't want to be somewhere that you're not comfortable, because you're not going to produce your best work. The last thing I wanted to talk about before I finish this video is I actually just wanted to give you a quick review about my TEFL program that I completed in 2016, and then as well as Prague and Czech Republic. Now, before I say anything else, nobody paid me for this review. It's not actually a review, it's just my opinion about things, and I just want to brag a little bit and just give you a little bit about my journey. So I did my TEFL program in Prague, Czech Republic. The program that I did is called Live TEFL Prague, and it's in Prague too, and I really had a great time. They really prepared us thoroughly for teaching. So they made sure it's a 4-week program, 130 hours. We started teaching the first week, literally the first week. So you spend the majority of the week doing like lessons, you know, you're doing a lot of lectures, and then after that, towards the end of the week, sometimes in the middle, they will let you know that you have to teach. You have to teach every week, and you are getting graded by your actual teachers, and you are teaching actual students. So they understand that, you know, you're learning and you're still in training, but you are still teaching actual students, so you're actually getting that hands-on experience. We have to do a lot of lesson plans. They need to make sure that we understood methodology. They made sure that we were comfortable speaking, you know, as a teacher in front of classrooms, and they just made sure that we were well prepared. The work was tedious at times, the work was strenuous at times. There was times we were like, oh my God, I'm so tired of doing this lesson planning, but I really am so grateful that they made us do that, because it helped me become more than prepared when I had to teach in Prague, when I taught in Vietnam, and especially when I taught online. It helped me keep control of the classroom. It helped me stay confident and really understand what I'm teaching and breaking it down, even as far as how much time do I spend on this particular subject or topic before I go to the next one. And they were very supportive. The staff is extremely supportive. They made sure that we got immersed into the Czech culture as much as possible. They took us to lunch the very first day, which was really, really nice. They also took us on an excursion. We went to a castle, which was extremely nice, and that was over the weekend, like on a Saturday. But they were more than helpful. There was always like little events going on in the city, and they would let us know about it and tell us about it. So if we wanted to participate, we could. They were just extremely helpful overall. I made really great friends. I still talk to them to this day, the ones that I made friends with, and I just had a wonderful time. As far as Prague goes, Prague is a gorgeous city. It's what I like the most about it is accessibility, as well as it being affordable. So Prague has buses, trams, and metros, which is really, really great to get around in the city. They also had Uber. They have Uber. I'm not sure if they have Lyft, because when I was there, Lyft was still kind of on the up and up, but they definitely had Uber. They had taxis, and there was just so much to do in Prague that you could do a range of things, like so much things if you wanted to. You also, if you want to go to neighboring countries like Germany, you can even fly to England, you could fly to France. It was all very affordable travel. You could, of course, fly. The flights were pretty cheap. You could take trains. The trains weren't that bad. You could go to Budapest, you could go to Austria, you could even go to Italy. It was just overall a wonderful experience. I really liked it a lot, and it's a place that I still miss to this day. And it was one of the best decisions I could have made, choosing Prague to do my TEFL course in, and choosing Live TEFL Prague to do my TEFL course in. So I definitely miss it, and I highly recommend it. And I think that as you're looking for TEFL programs, you don't absolutely have to do it in Prague, of course, but you should definitely have Prague high on your list. And I'll actually drop the link to the program that I did in the description box below, so no worries. But I hope I answered all your questions. I'm so sorry that this video was so long, but I've been getting asked these questions for like the last 2 years, and I said, let me just sit down and answer these questions to the best of my ability. Of course, I didn't cover every single question, so if you have any questions for me, go ahead and drop it in the comment box below and I will be sure to respond to you. Also, please don't forget to check out my blog. My blog is loverofshades.com. Go ahead and give this video a thumbs up, and then also subscribe to my channel. And then while you're subscribing, go ahead and follow me on social media. I could be reached on Instagram and Facebook at the handle Loverofshades, and I hope I answered everything. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to contact me. I will be sure to respond to you. I love helping out people that are interested in teaching English for a living or teaching English to fund their travels. It's something like on some real stuff like that I really enjoy doing. So that's it for now. Take care, God bless. Don't forget, leave me a comment if you have a question. And until then, I'll see you next time.